Hi everybody, I'm Elizabeth with Risky Pants Vlog, and I'm really excited to be starting to talk about friendship. It's something I've been thinking about for quite some time, and so I just want to jump in there. And in honor of that, I've invited my good friend Emily to join me, and we're going to talk about friendship, more specifically covenant type of friendship. So, and we have known each other, been getting to know each other for about 6 months or so, and we're pretty close. We have a lot of fun conversations. So I thought, let's just have a conversation to share with other people. So, Emily.
This is slightly more structured though than our usual conversation.
That's true.
I don't usually have no cards.
Or do I? Okay, so what are your general thoughts about friendship? I mean, we talk about that kind of thing a lot, but do you have anything you just want to throw out there right at the beginning?
I'm just so thankful for friendships. I've moved around a fair bit, but there's, I think, maybe 5 or 6 friends where no matter how many times I've moved or where I've been or how rarely we talk, I can call them, and there's just something so beautiful about that, and I think unique, and it just brings the reality of the closeness of God and His intimacy even when we feel distant from Him really home.
It's really good. Yeah, and I know I'm personally really grateful for your friendship. I mean, I have a lot of friends who live far away, but you're one that lives close.
I do prefer that.
I've been praying for that, and so I really appreciate your friendship and for you doing this, by the way.
Same. I'm honored to be here.
Okay. I apologize, I don't have my glasses on. I'm really blind, so that's why I'm doing this. Okay, so I want to talk about covenant friendship, which to me, I kind of think of Jonathan and David in the Bible a lot. You know, they're same gender. You can have covenant friendship with between males and females, or same gender. But I do love the idea of having covenant friendship, and I was wondering, what are your thoughts on that? What does that mean to you, covenant friendship?
Yeah, I think that covenant friendship is definitely something that's so important, and I think it's important because we do become like our friends, and there's when you become a covenant friend, you're committing to that person, and there's a certain element of responsibility and also accountability that I think is just really amazing and important, that takes the friendship to the next level and makes it purposeful. And I love covenant friendships because I think that we're created to be in covenant communities, and that involves individual friendships that we build around us. And I think it's a huge part of growing in a relationship with God, and just, I mean, we were meant to have those kind of friendships where it's committed and it's so real and it's meant to be.
Yeah, I agree. When you were saying that, I was thinking about the covenant friendships I have, and it's actually a newer thing for me to even realize that I can have them, or I should have them, or that I have them. Mm-hmm. Because it was maybe last year, I have really good friends, and I have really close friends, mm-hmm. but it wasn't until last year that I realized, you know, maybe I should, I don't want to say make it official, but kind of in some sense, actually say to these people, you know what, I love that you're in my life, I choose you, and you're, just so you know, I'm in here for the long haul. You know, I think that sort of, even speaking it out, there's something powerful that kind of shifts our regular friendships into that sort of covenant friendship status. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
that's so cool. I like that you said that. Yeah. Man, that's amazing, because I think that, what you said about declaring it out is a huge part of stepping into what it looks like to be in a covenant relationship. Yeah. And that commitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be this official, whatever they would do in the Bible, touch each other in weird places, or sacrifice their firstborn or something. But just, there's something, about speaking it out.
Yeah.
And, I feel like we've done that, or have established that in our friendship, which is amazing. In fact, I was telling someone the other day, I remember the first time I texted you, I love you. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've never said that to each other before. How is she going to feel about that? But you totally, said it back, and it was awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about text is they can't see your face. That's
true.
No.
But we say that to each other in person, too.
Yeah.
So it's good.
It is good. So it's not just a texting relationship. I think it's really amazing on this like covenant relationships, just how you know when they are. Like it's always really clear, and
that's really good.
Cool.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's like finding the right one.
Yeah, it is. We'll talk about that a little bit later, actually. Oh gosh, I really am blind. Okay.
Right there.
Okay. So I feel like we've sort of set the stage for what covenant friendships are pretty well, but do you have any other thoughts? Like what do your covenant friendships look like in your life? What are some maybe practical tips that can help people realize, yeah, this is what a covenant friendship is, or just help people realize, oh, those are the people that I am in covenant with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, covenant relationships, what it looks like is someone who causes you to grow. I think is one of the big things, is that if they are someone who's inspiring and who are running in a direction, I think that's often a person, either you know that you're in covenant relationship with them, or you know that you should be in covenant relationship with them. And then also I think it's really important to have people in your life who are fun. And Elizabeth is one of those people where it's like I can have a lot of fun with her. And I think that's another amazing part. And then just so the growth part where they're also pushing you, and then the ability to be vulnerable. And I think if it's someone who if you can be vulnerable with them, then I think unless it's a harsh or mean vulnerability where you're pushing your vulnerability on them, I think that's definitely a covenant relationship, or a relationship that's covenant for a season.
That's good. Yeah, tell me more about the for a season thing. Like, what would that look like?
It sounds like it's not covenant, it's for a season. It does. Yeah, a little bit. But I think that there are times when you run closer to somebody, or when you're in covenant for each other, but that because God is doing something in your lives together, and so you're in a relationship, and so it's a covenant relationship. But I think there are times when the covenant doesn't break, but the way it looks changes. So it's kind of like we're not, like the whole idea of not being ritualistic, where we like cut our hands and shake hands, okay, we're in a covenant relationship. And so it's letting God move in that relationship, so that you're always in covenant, but I guess the seasons change, and acknowledging that change.
Right, yeah. Relationships do ebb and flow, and people move away, or they move closer together, or I completely understand what you're saying.
But definitely the 5 or 6 people I was talking about, the love I have for them, and the way I'm able to relate to them, and the way they inspire me never changes. Just
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think what you had first said a minute ago about people growing together is really important, because those people can inspire you because because your core values are similar. And I just wanted to make a point about that, because I don't think it's wise to try and have a covenant friendship with just anybody and everybody. There are, just like when you're wanting to date someone and you're wondering about like compatibility, is this someone I can commit to in a committed friendship? There is still a consideration for what makes you compatible. And I think all it comes down to, really, like, plain and simple, is, are your core values the same? Like you said, is this someone that I can grow with? And as you grow together, you create more connection points, more intimacy, you become safer together, and those are people you can continue to be vulnerable with.
Yeah. That's important, especially that's beautiful. I like what you said about the compatibility. Yeah. And the idea and the safety and the vulnerability. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think compatibility as a whole is in many ways a choice. It comes down to our choices. Like who do we want to be as people? What kind of person do we want to become and grow into? And that's how you choose your friends, I think, or should be how you choose your friends, or your deep relationships. Because like you said right at the beginning, you become who you hang out with. Basically.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's true.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say about anything we just said? Covenant friendships.
No, I think that's
Okay. So the next sort of half of this, I wanted to talk about friendship in light of marriage. Now, both of us are single, haven't been married, and not married now. But we have hopes for that, and I think who we are as people, and probably one of the reasons why we're good friends is because we value personal growth, we value living rightly, and for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know what
No. I was just laughing because that's compatibility.
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just living it out
Yeah.
for all everyone to see. No, it's true. Yeah. So who we are, I think, I know I have, and I feel like based on conversations you have on your own time, done what you can as a single person to like prepare yourself for marriage now. And I think it's like it's not too early to be the best wife, the best husband you can be even as a single person, because it starts now. You know, when you
Right.
enter into marriage, you want to be a whole person marrying another whole person,
Right.
so you're together in that sense. So I wanted to sort of bring up something that I have recently realized, and I've never heard anyone really say this in this way, but I feel like marriage is not something we need, but it's a gift from God, but we do need friendships. And quite often I feel like in the church it's almost the opposite. The way that marriage is presented, it's like the Holy Grail, like you should want to be married, it should be the ultimate thing. And as a result, I personally have always felt like, wow, like I need to be married. You know what I mean? But as I've become an adult and I've lived many, many years as a single person, I realized, I don't want to wait until I'm married to grow and to be sharpened by my spouse. I can start doing that now in friendships.
Yeah.
So in that way, like, I feel like we almost need friendships first or foremost, or like more in some sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. And I think that any healthy romantic relationship would look like a really strong covenant friendship first, because covenant friendship, I think one of the reasons why it's so important in a marriage is because a marriage is a covenant, and so learning to do a covenant friendship well is important. So I think in that sense a friendship would definitely be foremost. I think that there's something unique, like, the saying, like, a dog is man's best friend. I think that if that were really true, or friendship were really it, then Adam maybe wouldn't have needed Eve. And so I think there's something a little more in a marriage relationship, but I do think that covenant relationships are huge.
What would you say is the difference then between a covenant friendship versus a covenant marriage, and like how can a covenant friendship potentially move into a marriage if it's between a man and a woman? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, that's a deep question.
That's a good question. We can come back to it.
Maybe we should come back to that
Okay.
one. Will you remember how you asked it though?
I will try. It's recorded, so if I ever need to, I can look
That's
back.
true.
Yeah, okay. What was I going to say? You had said marriage. Okay. So what then about single people who never get married? Who can never experience marriage? What are they missing out on, do you think?
Sex.
Yes.
Yes,
they are.
missing that part.
Do you think we can be fulfilled, like, legitimately without ever getting married in our relationships?
I think that you can be legitimately fulfilled. I think that it takes a mind shift, because I think so often we live our whole lives bombarded by our advertisements and all these ideas of things we need and want. And I think that I just read a beautiful book about a man and his journey into marriage, and he talks about how he and his fiancée at the time talked about the fact that they could not fulfill each other, and that there was a longing in their heart that would not be met outside of eternity. And so I think that something anybody needs to realize, whether you're in a marriage or in a relationship, so becoming a marriage, or even if you never get married, that there's a longing that only can be fulfilled. It can't even be fulfilled in a relationship with Christ, I think, on this side of eternity, because there's that longing of eternity in our hearts. And so I think that for people who never get married, that life can be beautiful. And Paul said it is good to be as I am, unless you're burning with passion. But
That's true.
yes.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I think that it can be done. I think it can be done well and beautifully, and I think it can be done in such a way that God is so glorified.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I like that. Yeah, I agree with that. I had said something a while back. I had this revelation. So in my, in my singleness and wanting to grow as a person and sort of prepare myself for marriage, I went on this like binge of reading blogs and books and talking to married people and just trying to figure out like how can I learn to be the best single person. Actually, originally it was just how can I learn to be the best married person. But in that journey, I realized I need to figure out how to be a good single person too, maybe first and foremost. And one of the things that I came across a lot, I feel like one of the topics that people at least addressed and never quite felt satisfied by the way most people did, was this topic of like, how do you know when he or she is the one? What do you look for? And stuff like that. And I had this revelation mostly, I think, as I was getting to know you more recently. I realized, wow, I feel like it has been a long time since I've had a newer budding covenant friendship. Because a lot of my covenant friendships that I have are from the last number of years. So I've had them for a while. So you're my newest friend and definitely one of my best friends at this point. And as I was getting to know you and thinking about all these things, I realized, it probably would make a lot of sense if I want to figure out what kind of person I should marry. I should think about people I'm hanging out with a lot right now, which would include you. And when I think about the people I have been able to get closest with, and I sort of extricate like which traits do they have, which traits do all of these people have, I started to like get a fuller picture of maybe the person I should be with. Even practical things, like a lot of my close friends are extroverted, which is kind of funny. And if they're not extroverted, they have like literally the same exact personality as me, and I'm introverted. But yeah, like everything from how do I handle conflict with these people. I can't get past a certain stage with someone if we're not handling conflict together. It's just not going to happen. Stuff like that. Or what are some of their goals in life? A lot of my friends have certain types of goals in their life. A lot of my closest friends are going a certain place in their life, and they do handle conflict a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, what are your thoughts on that whole...
I think that's interesting. Well, when Oza told me about that revelation, I was just kind of tripping out. I was like, whoa, let me think about my friends. This is weird. Because there's a certain element, I think part of it has to do with this idea of Prince Charming, and so I think we kind of put any future husband on a pedestal where it's like, this is how he's going to look, and so we don't even, so he's not, the poor guy isn't even human, which is kind of a stressful position to be in when you can't be human. But I think it's totally true, not only because we are hanging out with them and we're obviously attracted to them on a certain level and becoming covenant friends with them, but I think also they're shaping us into a certain kind of person. And so I think another aspect of that, when you're looking at your friends and the kind of person you might end up marrying or what they'll look like, is also what kind of person are they shaping you into. Because that kind of person is going to be, who... You're going to attract a certain kind of person then when they're shaping you into that kind of person.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I feel like we're on to something.
I think we are. We're going to write a book next.
Yes, we should start a whole series about this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Super blind. Okay. Alright. 2 more things. So, I don't know if you were aware of this, but I feel like I heard something recently where some people were upset about the phrase, something like, oh, I married my best friend, or whatever. I feel like there were like a number of blogs going back and forth about it.
Why were they upset?
I think, I didn't, to be honest, I didn't really read the whole thing. But what I got out of it, if I can remember correctly, is something like they wanted to differentiate between like friends and marriage, and they were basically saying that like using that phrase sort of makes people tend toward only spending time with their spouse, and like their circle doesn't extend much farther than that. And so they need to have other friends and other community, which I'm completely all for that. However, I feel like they're also throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because I feel like
Uh-huh.
that phrase makes a lot of sense. I married my best friend in light of what we've been talking about is, well, you're going to be in covenant marriage with that person, you probably should be in covenant friendship with them first.
Right.
So by all means,
You're
marry your best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In response to that, I think it's interesting because who you're in covenant friendship with, and how you're doing that friendship well would decide the kind of person you're going to marry. So I think best friend is a bit of a relative term, because your best friend, if your covenant relationships are meant to be deeper, but you're living them disconnected and shallow and avoiding conflict and seeking fun, then you might marry your best friend, but it isn't going to be beautiful, it isn't going to be good. It's only going to be as good as your best covenant friendship, I think. I personally don't like it because I always think it sounds a little bit silly, and I think a lot of people are saying that after a quick relationship, or it was a very, it wasn't a covenant relationship, so I think a lot of people say it about someone who they are lusting for, not loving, and especially not covenant loving.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that in the long run, when you actually get married, you should be marrying somebody who you are in covenant friendship with. I think they should be your best friend, and I think that one of the things you mentioned at one time was that some of the blogs are complaining about how when you say that, it sounds like you're marrying somebody who is going to be just you and them. And I think in a covenant friendship, if it's the right kind, which I'm sure yours will be, it's the kind of relationship where it's going to be pushing you into God as a married couple, and it's going to be increasing the boundaries of your influence and your friendship. And I think that in that kind of relationship, a covenant friendship should never exclude other covenant friendships. So.
That's good. That brings me to my last question, actually, which is how can covenant friendship continue to bless you and even your spouse once you're married? You know, other covenant friendships that aren't with, your spouse, basically.
Interesting. I have a few people who I really love listening to, and all of them talk about the importance of finding people to run with. Mm-hmm. And the other thing they talk about is how sometimes you have to let go of friends. And so I think that as you enter into marriage, both of those things are important to bring before God, because as you enter into a relationship, you are entering into, in a way, an ultimate covenant relationship. And even though it sounds crazy, especially in our kind of like self-centered worldview, it's easy to think, well, no, I have to bring everything with me. But there is an element of leaving and cleaving. And so I think that you have to be aware of that going into it. But like even right now, there's people who I'm not necessarily in friendship with, but who I look at where they're going, and there's still a covenant that I want to create with them because of where they're going. And I think that if you are actively pursuing friendships that are inspiring and God glorifying and fun, I think, and then you find somebody and you make a covenant marriage with them, that it's going to be easy to carry those relationships in. And I think a lot of times it's going to be important to do that, and not because you need girl time and guy time and you guys need to have your separate times, but because I think there's community is important. And so it'd almost be like dropping a gift from God on the wayside if you were to needlessly throw away a covenant friendship after marriage.
Right.
I know that answered your question.
I think it does. What would be the differences then, kind of going back to that question from before, would you say between a covenant marriage and a covenant friendship, like what changes, over time?
I think there's a certain amount of autonomy that you have in a covenant friendship that you don't have in a covenant marriage, and it's not a bad thing that you lose that or that you have that in covenant friendships, but it's just you do become one with whoever you marry, I think, and I think that level of commitment is so huge. And so I think being even more selfless and more willing to forgive, more willing to reconcile, and more like with friendships, it's easy to pursue relationships. Like pursuing a relationship with you is like, it's fun and it's delightful and it's like so rewarding. But in marriage, we have to work harder, I think, to maintain covenant relationship.
Yeah, well, and it's something you want to protect forever and ever. And not that you don't want to do that with friendships, but when you do make that covenant in marriage, it's before God, it's before friends, family, man, like everyone.
Yeah.
Even the government is involved, you know, at least in our country.
Right.
With marriage. So, then with friendship, it's maybe not quite as ceremonious somehow, not quite as...
But now that you, mention that, though, it brings me back to what you said in the beginning about Jonathan and David.
Right.
And theirs was a covenant not only unto death, but it was a covenant. Yeah. David, Saul's, if you read in Kings, Saul's grandsons rebelled against David, but Jonathan's son, because of the covenant that David and Jonathan had, he brought Jonathan's son in, who was a cripple, and fed him at the king's table and clothed him with raiment. And so I think that there is an element even of covenant friendships that should look like that.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
Should be preserved like that.
So then I wonder, and this wasn't on my notes. No, that makes sense. This wasn't on my notes, but I've thought about this before. I guess I have this thing in my head. Right, if you're trying to get to know someone, to potentially marry them, someone you might want to, be in covenant marriage with, eventually, it's good to go through that process while being in covenant friendships with other people, and that could include your family. I would consider myself to be in friendship with my siblings and even with my parents. Sometimes our family, or the family we're born into, they're not healthy and they don't know how to do healthy relationships, and so as we become adults we can create boundaries. But I say if you have those healthy friendships, whether it's with family and or covenant friends, and you're trying to bring someone else into that you're hoping to potentially marry someday, let's say that it gets to this point, this crossroads, where you sort of have to choose between that person and your family. In my mind, that means there's something wrong. Either with your relationship with that person, they might not be the right person for you, basically, or there's something wrong in your friendships and or family. Maybe they don't know you as well as they should, or maybe you're rebelling against them, and these are the people you create a community with. And they should know you, and they should support you. And so if they're not supporting that very most important relationship, there could be something, off either way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I think in that sense, you don't want to, when you're getting ready for marriage and going into it, you want to do that actually with your community in mind still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you do bring them into that marriage in some sense, even though it becomes the ultimate relationship in your life. They're still there, and there's still that foundation. For both of you, in fact, as you become one. Which
is why you have public marriage, is so that you have that community around you. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful and true. I agree that there is something wrong. I think that, I don't know, you can go edit some of this, but I know some couple people who met people who are really amazing and sweet, and there was a lot of pressure from family to break up with them, and in both cases they did, and later on there was a lot of bitterness and a lot of kind of separation from their family because of that mistake, and then one of them ended up marrying somebody else. It always looked like she was a little bit pushed into the relationship, and the other one never got married, which isn't bad. A lot of people never get married, and it's beautiful. But there is a certain element of unwholeness, I guess, brokenness in that singleness that shouldn't be there. That I think is related to many things, and partly that. And so I think, but at the same time, I know people who got married in rebellion from their parents, and there's something hard that just kind of lingers, I feel like. And so I think that in handling that, we should make a whole other video talking about it.
We should. Well, yeah. And I'll just say real quick, you know, if that's happening, if there is brokenness either in your like your family relationship or in your dating relationship or whatever, you do have to choose sort of. Sometimes you have to choose, but what in that choosing, what I would do if I was in that situation is I would assess, okay, like how are my relationships with my parents or my friends or whoever is saying, oh, I need to break up with this person, and why are they saying that? Are they saying it out of love? Or are they saying it because they don't actually understand a relationship? If they don't understand a relationship, then at that point it's my job to help them understand it, I think.
Right.
Because probably at that point, I haven't brought them far enough into that relationship yet, and that's not healthy, because I need that accountability from them.
Yeah.
And if they aren't changing their minds, then it could get to the point where I realize, well, I just disagree with them, and there could be some sort of potential rift there, but my heart always, no matter, in all of my close covenant relationships with family or dating or whatever, is to protect that connection that I have with them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I need to appease everyone all the time and make everyone happy.
Right.
It's not the happiness part, it's the can we work through this conflict part together and get to the other side. And what am I sacrificing along the way? Is it worth it? Is it a godly type of sacrifice? Is it out of rebellion, or is it out of selfishness? Do you know what I mean?
Right, for sure. And I think it's always beautiful when covenant relationships go through testing, because then you know if it was really a covenant relationship.
That's true.
Or not.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, because I think if there's a conflict like that, then if you are really in a covenant relationship, a budding covenant relationship with the person that you want to marry, then they'll be able to handle and have like godly advice
really
to deal with it on your family side, or vice versa, where there's going to be the ability to work through it and to come out stronger. And I think that you should. I think there are times when you lose covenant friends, but I think that it's rare, and I think that it's just a matter of first and foremost, I think, having a relationship with Jesus, because He's so good at speaking about talking to us and like making it so clear when it's like, no, like this is a covenant relationship that you cannot lose.
Right. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I have this aunt, and she has disliked many men. I think every one of my uncles, including my father, she was like, you can't marry him. And so it's kind of a family joke now that if she doesn't like the guy, then you're good to go. So you could ask if that's what's happening too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we can have any number of people in our lives that are broken or don't understand, or whatever, or just don't have the same core values as us, and so then it looks, it looks like there's a conflict there.
Yeah,
because there is technically conflict of interest. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's all I have. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, this has been amazing.
Yeah, it really has. Thank you for coming, Emily. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Till next time, maybe we'll do this again. I'm sure we'll do this again.
Probably, I hope so.
Yeah. It's really fun. Alright. Bye, guys.
Bye.